In this lesson, we're going to talk about wireframing basics. So what are wireframes? Why wireframe? And what details are important, okay? So what are wireframes, right? So wireframes are skeletal versions of visual design, okay? So basically, wireframes are this picture of what content needs to be on the page, what content needs to be shown, right? And so if we're making a video game, what interface elements need to be shown? Do we need to have a score? Do we need health? What do we need to have content-wise, right? So the question is, why do we wireframe, right? Well, wireframing makes us focus on content, behavior, and functionality, right? It makes us focus on what's important, right? What needs to be there, rather than focusing on making something look good first, okay? So in our process, figure out what needs to be on the page, what needs to be on the screen, what needs to be shown, and when it needs to be shown. And then after we have that, then we'll work on making it look better, more aesthetically pleasing. Okay. So what details are important? Well, it just depends at where you're at in production. Okay. Near the beginning of production, you want sketches, roughs, less detail, just trying to get the idea, right? And as you move forward into production, you're getting towards the final. That's when you start putting in the final details, putting things exactly where they're going to be, making the exact sizes they need to be. And then also you're making sure your interactions all are working correctly, right? So, all right, so at the very minimum, you need to have the overall page structure, the overall screen structure, the overall structure with objects, labeled, right? Things labeled. More detailed wireframes will include descriptions of content, behavior diagrams, effects. You might have state diagrams drawn in. You might have menuing systems. Yeah. Now, most wireframes are done on paper as a sketch very quickly. And we work that way up until we have to go digital. That digital makes it much more efficient, right? Sometimes it's because we have to communicate with other people. We got to send stuff, or we need to work on it together collaboratively, or it's just now we're getting to some solid documentation and lots of details, right? Yeah. So typically, let's say we're going to do a wireframe for a game. I'm going to pick something like a car racing game, let's say, right? So here's my screen, and on the screen, what do I need to what do we need to know, right? Well, I'm going to need to know speed, right? So let's write right here. We're going to need to know my speed, right? Maybe I want to know fuel, maybe, right? Maybe something about damage. Right. If it's a racing game, we might put position, right? But let's say it's something a little more open world, little, just kind of drive around and try to complete some kind of challenges, right? So we might need to be able to see challenges when they pop up and appear, right? Maybe there's a radio control. Oops, radio control. Okay. Let's see, what else? Maybe boost, right, or nitro, as it would be called. All right. Okay, now there could be all kinds of other things we need to put on the screen, right? So how do we lay this out in a wireframe? Okay, well, speed. Okay, well, speed and fuel generally are included in some kind of cluster, and then radio control. So let's just say you're going to make this thing be somewhat realistic. I would just go ahead and draw a dash like that and a steering wheel, and then I would go ahead and say, there's my speed, right? There's my fuel. All right. Now, this is not a great setup, but let's just say that. We have speed, we have fuel, okay? Damage. Well, let's come back to damage, right? Challenges, right? So a challenge might go right here, but we actually need a rear view mirror. That's actually another interface. Okay, so the question is now, do we need side mirrors or not? Well, maybe, but let's just say no. Okay, so challenges, this would have been a great spot to put challenges, but our mirror is going there. So where would we put challenges? Well, let's just go ahead and put challenge here. Okay, as text. Now, anyways, ever played a game like this, would be pissed off if we did that because you're driving and all of a sudden this thing pops up there. It's a little annoying, but that's what it is, and it happens. All right, radio control. Well, let's go ahead and put the radio over here. And to represent a radio, I'm going to make it look a little old school here. Okay, so we got this awesome radio. And then the boost nitro. Ooh, okay. Well, we could do a couple of things, right? So we could put the boost nitro here alongside the speed. Okay. Okay. So this is a wireframe. Do you know what we need to have? Yes. Is it all in the right spots? Ultimately, probably not. Doesn't really matter that it's in the right spot, just roughly where we think it should go. But it's about the content going in, right? So what are we leaving out right now? We're leaving out damage. Okay, so now damage can be handled a couple different ways, right? We could do some kind of meter maybe in here for damage. We could also, if we can see the car, right? Maybe damage is handled through cracks in the windshield. Okay. So damage is the cracks in the windshield. Okay. Now this is one of those points where we'd have to write a description. Cracks in windshield. All right. So, okay. Now I want to mention something about this interface, right? Typically, everyone thinks about a user interface as something that's graphics that's slapped on, right? That's the challenges is slapped on, right? Notice what we've done with this interface, or what I've done with this interface. I've integrated the interface in, right? And it was fairly easy to do because of the car, right? We could do the gauges, we could do the stuff, right? But this cracked windshield didn't have to be that way, and a lot of games wouldn't have done that. They would have just put a damage meter up here. There's my damage meter. Okay, oh man, I'm taking a lot of damage, right? And they would have said, oh, speed should just go right here. Speed, all right, I've got some speed happening. Oh yeah, boost, okay, boost is happening right here. And I'm only partly filled there. And the radio, well, we wouldn't actually give you a control for the radio. We just tell you the song every so often right here. Okay, so I challenge you, try to make your interfaces integrated in wherever you can, right? Do that with your games. Integrate the interfaces in, okay? Going back to wireframes, right? We just need to have enough information that it conveys what things need to be. Does it have to look pretty? Do we have to see exactly how this speed gauge, exactly what font you would choose and what color it would be, and what the sweep arm will look like? We don't need to know all that here, right? We just need to know you need to have a speedometer, right? That's what's important here. All right, see you next time.